Okay, so I think we don't need any much introduction. I'm Soumyadeep Ghosh, Snapcrafters, Ubuntu member and a member of Ubuntu Flutter Community, and he's...
I am Merlin, Snapcrafter and Ubuntu Community Council. And this basically, as Snapcrafters, we're a bunch of volunteers maintaining about 70 different snaps. That's basically way too many snaps for a few volunteers to do. And that's why we automated almost the entire process. By automating it, we build it in a way that other people can also use these actions. And we've recently been talking to the Ubuntu desktop team, who are also going to start using our actions in order to automate the publishing of snaps that they are doing. Right. So we're going to explain to you how this system works, what the system can do, and then afterwards you can add it to your own snap. And we will walk around in this room in order to answer your questions and help you set it up for your own snaps.
Yeah, let's get it going. Okay, so guys, please get the prerequisites that we have already shared in Indico as a PDF. You can just set up the Launchpad credentials and maybe get an account in Launchpad. So yeah, get it going. Yeah. So yeah, you guys just download the script, grab it, and you have a Launchpad account, so you can get your Launchpad credentials from there, which will be necessary in the next slides. We are going to check. I hope you guys already have it, or maybe not, so you can wait for some time until you get it done.
So what's important about our tools is that we have some requirements for how your snap works. Two ones are very important. So number 2, your snap should explicitly mention the architecture that it will support. In your snapcraft.yaml file, you can add architectures. Then you can say this snap can be built on AMD, can be built on ARM. This is stuff that has to be explicitly in your snap, because our CI reads this information and uses it to figure out for how many architectures it needs to build this. Secondly, your snap basically has to hard code the version of your snap and the version of the dependencies in your snap. So we see that some people build their snap in a way that every time they rebuild their snap, it takes the latest version of the application and then it makes a snap out of the latest version. While with our CI/CD system, it's basically our CI/CD system that will upgrade the versions. So you can just hard code them in your snapcraft.yaml, the version of your application and the version of your dependencies. And then our CI/CD system will basically every time upgrade the dependencies when a new version gets released.
Right. So everyone is ready? We can get it going? Okay, let's go. Okay. So this is like the complete flow of our workflow is like we have 2 separate workflows. First one is the one that basically updates your regularly checks for updates in your snaps, in the snap projects. They update them, they release them to the snap store directly, and then of course take screenshots by running them in the GitHub runners directly, and then creates a call for testing in the GitHub repos, where the issues will be listed, how to test it, how to promote it to stable, and then the last step is promoting the snaps to the stable channel so that everyone can use it. And the second workflow we have is like, for example, there is an update, there are some changes that is done by someone who have created a PR in your project. So this workflow will just basically test the PR, like build a snap on based on that PR, and you can test it and see if the PR is working or not. So yeah.
The first workflow is basically what allows us to maintain 70-ish snaps with a very small team, because most of it is automated except for a manual review. So automatically new versions gets published in the Edge channel, and then there is a manual review for us to do in order to publish them to the stable channel.
Okay, so we Snapcrafters maintain the Discord snap, and we are using that snap's setup, CI setup, as an example for this workshop. Okay, the first thing, the most basic and important thing is to update your snap regularly. you have maybe 3 parts, 4 parts, 5 parts to build your snap, correctly with all its dependencies. You are building it from source, you are building it from some tarball, you are building it from some kind of tab. So you need to update that version, right? You need to update every single tag. Also, you need to update the version of your snap itself that's in the topmost level. So for that, we have this we have this CI named sync with upstream. So we'll create a file first named action.yaml or update.yaml, whatever you want. Well, just go ahead and grab the example of Discord and paste that part in your snap. Okay, so now you guys have maybe you have seen the example Discord snap, and you might have copied it, and you are seeing something like update script. What is update script? So basically, it's the logic by which you will check for new updates. So for example, let's say you are following a Git repo. You are following a Git repo in GitHub, GitLab, Codeberg, wherever you want. So you can use git ls remote to check and list all the tags available in that remote, and you can pick the latest one using bash script. That is your upgrade script. That is your update logic.
So in this sense, the only thing that you need to do as the maintainer of the snap, when you pull in this CI/CD system, the only thing you need to customize here is this script, and you need to change the script so that it looks at all the dependencies, sees if any of these dependencies have been updated, and if they have, then updates your snapcraft.yaml file in order to update update your application. Right. We have a whole bunch of examples, right. Example scripts for how to do this if your dependencies are on GitHub, if your dependencies are archive packages, if your dependencies are something else. We have a lot of examples for how to check if there is an update, but then our CI/CD system every night will run the script and then update your snap and then rebuild everything.
Yeah. Okay, so we have gone through this, and
yeah, so the update script is basically just a shell script that checks for the version updates and then update your snap.
Yeah. So that's a saying that if you are updating you are using something from Git, so you just use git ls remote, you are using tar/tab, you can just use maybe releases of the GitHub page using GitHub API. You can maybe check the website, you can scrap the website basically to check, oh, this is HTML file, I'll find that's new release, and then grab the file from there. You maybe use a dep package completely from maybe somewhere else, some other app repository. You can also check that too. So yeah, that's the thing. We use that in our Discord snap, where we check the API of Discord to say, oh, okay, there is a new update in the app repo. We get the update, and we just update it from there, right? Okay, so you guys gonna try, give it a go. We have examples, mark text, code spell. We're gonna try it in your project. We are already there, so give it a try, and let's see what problems you face, and then we can maybe go ahead and fix it or help you fix it.
So the next step is that, this sync step, what it basically does is it updates your snapcraft.yaml file inside of this repository. Every update of the code inside of a repository triggers the next step, the release step. And the release step will build your snap for all the architectures that you specified and create a call for testing and publish the snap in the Edge channel in the Snap Store so that you can test it out yourself and then push it to stable once you've tested it.
Right.
So our automation itself, it's actually getting these architectures for you. What you just need to do is add this architecture in your snapcraft.yaml file. Because by default, you can actually just not add the architectures in your snapcraft.yaml file, and then by default, Snapcraft will only build it for the current architecture. But this CI requires you to explicitly state which architectures your snap supports.
Basic, yeah. And now, as we have got the architectures, we take the architectures as a matrix sum of the input, and then we build all of them using Snapcraft remote build. We get them built. We get the file from the remote build, that is the snap file, and then we manually upload it into the store, into the desired channel that you have already asked for. Maybe stable, maybe change, maybe candidate, maybe beta, wherever you want. So we just update it. We create a new tag about the revision that the snap file has been uploaded to, and we get it into a release so that we can track how, okay, so this is a snap, this is it in this channel, this is it in this channel, this architecture is in this channel, this is the revision of it. Yeah, that's basically it.
And so important to note here is that we are actually using remote build in order to build your snap on Launchpad builders. This is very interesting because GitHub Actions only supports a very limited set of architectures. However, Launchpad, Canonical, has been generous enough to just give anyone free access to build snaps on basically any common architecture that exists, including things like RISC-V.
But yeah.
Yeah, this is maybe a disclaimer that we have to say. This is for public applications.
But then you can also get private runners in Launchpad, which is, I think, a bit difficult to set up. But yeah, that's a whole different story. Okay, so we have built it, we have released it, and now we'll need to test it. So maybe what you can, we are going to stop here because the next steps are going to need these steps. So you guys go ahead. We'll just work around and if you face any problems, setting it up, setting the credentials and all this, we'll just go and help you. And let's till then, Merlin will explain you how you can get the credentials done.
So I'm going to give a short demo. I'm not going to compile a snap, but I'm just going to show some of the runs of previous compilation. So let's see if I can show this. Okay. So the first thing is all these workflow runs. So GitHub, when you add these actions, it shows you very nicely which workflows you have. And for example, this is an update workflow that ran. This is an update workflow that ran 3 hours ago in order to check if the upstream has changed. In this case, the upstream has not changed, so it did not commit any changes, so it didn't trigger an actual rebuild of the snap. But then if we go a little bit later to maybe a few days ago, or I'm only looking at the... So if we look at the release workflow then, you see that just 3 days ago, the update workflow then committed a change and that triggered the release workflow. And then the release workflow basically gets the architecture that it should build a snap for, builds the snap for every architecture, creates a call for testing issue in your repository to notify you there's a new version of your snap available, please check it. And gathers screenshots of the application. This is very useful for desktop applications. Right. And adds them to the GitHub issue so that you can immediately see in GitHub whether there is something that crashed your application.
Right.
So let's take a look at such a call for testing. So this is basically an automated GitHub issue that's being created by these actions that says, look, I built a snap for these 2 architectures. Those are these specific 2 revisions. And then it gives you some instructions of how can you test this snap manually. This is how you install this version of the snap. And then how can you release it is basically by writing a response to this GitHub issue. As a maintainer, you can write a response saying that you need to release these versions to stable. And so then you see the bot also added a screenshot of Signal that shows both the Signal window first and then the entire desktop with Signal. So in case maybe there's still an error message somewhere that you can also see it. And then we have John Seeger, one of the Snapcrafters, that looked at this, that tested it, and then said, okay, it's done, you can promote it. You can promote these different versions. You can promote it to the stable so that it goes to all the users. And then the bot promotes it to all the users, and then all the users get this update. Yeah. So this update is already running on my machine. And if you see, like, the issue was being created 3 days ago, John responded 3 days ago, so we're very happy with the fact that we can release these, this basically we're releasing the Signal Desktop Snap basically as quickly as Signal themselves are releasing it. At most, we have 24 hours difference because we only check every day if there has been a release. But yeah, it's incredibly quickly. Then what's also important, what we can also help you with today is all these bots, they need a few credentials. They need credentials in order to be able to publish snaps on your behalf in the Snap Store. They need credentials in order to be able to change your snap code in the repository, and they need credentials in order to use the Launchpad builders in order to build your application. The way that we do this is by using an environment. So, in my opinion, it's incredibly important to put these credentials in an environment, because if these credentials would ever be leaked, that would be a big issue. Environments basically allow you to add protection rules to certain credentials running in GitHub workflows. So here specifically, we add the rule that these credentials can only be used on the candidate branch. So if somebody else creates another branch and then tries to use these credentials, that won't work. Right. And then the specific secrets, here you have the Launchpad build secret. That is what we use in order to use the Launchpad builders. This is a secret from a free Launchpad account that anyone can get. We have Snapcrafters bot commit, so that's basically a GitHub credential in order to be able to commit new changes to the snap. And then we split it up, Snap Store candidate and Snap Store stable. So basically, Snap Store candidate has the ability to push applications to the candidate channel. It can't push to the stable channel, it can't do anything else, it can only push to the candidate channel. We limit the scope of these credentials as much as possible in order to make it as secure as possible. And then Snap Store stable, this credential, the only thing this credential can do is promote a snap that is already in candidate channel to stable channel. So basically, in order to push something to users, an attacker would have to compromise both credentials, because with one of both credentials, you can't actually push something to users. And then the last thing I have here, I just wanted to show, this is the Signal Desktop. All of our stuff is open source. This is the Signal Desktop repository. You can find all the files here in the GitHub folder and then workflows. And then here you see the 4 workflows. Sync version with upstream. Well, this checks if there's an update. Release to candidate builds it, releases it to the candidate channel, and then creates the call for testing. And then promote to stable, watches the call for testing, and then updates it. So if you want more information about all this, we actually created a sort of walkthrough. The link to this walkthrough is, I think, somewhere in our repository, but it's basically on GitHub Snapcrafters/CI workshop. I think it's somewhere in the presentation.
Yeah, I have added it in the presentation.
Yeah. You will also find this link in the presentation. And this README basically explains first what the prerequisites are to use this CI system, then the complete flow of actions, so why does every action do the thing that it does, and then basically a tutorial for how to add it to your snap. I think it's very interesting to follow this if you want to add the CI/CD system to your snap. I also want to add, even though you're using our CI/CD system, we don't actually have access to your credentials. everything that you do is staying inside of your repository, inside of your GitHub actions. We just provide you with the code that then does all these things.
Basically simplifying the way you can publish your snap into the store, like getting rid of hurdles, having multiple repositories for multiple snaps. We're getting rid of that. We're getting rid of like going through there, going to into Snap Store, going to into GitHub to check, okay, this is updated. I'll need to update it in the Snap Store too, and just get everything from the GitHub directly. You get it in the Candle channel directly from GitHub. You get it in the stable channel directly from GitHub. Just one place for everything.
And then these are a few examples of like, okay, if one of your upstreams is a GitHub repository, this is how you get that version. If it's a GitLab repository, this is how you get that version. If it's a repository that doesn't do releases, but that creates a new branch on every release, you can still use our CI system with this script. It's just a bunch of examples of how do you get the latest version, how do you check if there is a new version, depending on where your dependencies come from.
Basically, like these are all those examples. You can use whatever bash script you want. You can use your own scripts. You can use Python scripts if you want. You can use anything. Just have to upload them and get in your workflow folder. That's it. Yeah.
And then the last thing this explains is how to set up the credentials. This is often the most tricky part. If you want to do it today, we can definitely help you with this. I have shown you my credentials screen. I don't think I have it. Oh, here. And so the moment you input your credentials here, they're not visible to anyone opening this page. So we can definitely help you setting up these credentials without us actually seeing your credentials. Exactly. But we can check if the names are correct and stuff like that. Okay, so I think this is all the explanation we wanted to do. So now it's up to you. Yeah. Please try to add this to your snap or add this to an example snap. And we're very happy to answer any questions that you have about this.
And this can be like a group, a big avenue for you to come join Snapcrafters, because like we have got many requests from, okay, how would I like to join Snapcrafters? You can just help us getting all our packages into the CI. Like we have all the repositories have the same CI setup. We have shared you some examples which we still haven't been able to get the CI up and running. You can do that. You can create it in your own repos. And if you have any suggestions, feedbacks, updates, you can obviously share that also with us. And of course, any questions.
So is this a plenary question, or should we come to you and help you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, okay.
At the outset, you suggested to download the slides, which is great. I did that, and I noticed that the slides listed on the website it looked like they were cut off, or only maybe it was a partial version. Do you think you could look into that? And you might need to like upload it somewhere else so we can get the full slide set.
Okay, we'll do that. Thank you.
I have a question to all of you. Has anyone of you been on the Ubuntu Summit in Riga last year, a year ago? And did you have been in my workshop about snap update automation? Yes. One thing is, what I have presented last year is another software made by another GitHub action, made by the desktop team of Canonical. And this one is the GitHub action from the Snapcrafters. And we are working on merging the two, that we get the advantages of the two systems in one, and also have to maintain only one system.
Right. So yeah, that's what like Marlene also was saying about it. Like we plan to have it like run into like many other snaps by Canonical or by from the desktop team. We plan to merge it into the SDKs that we maintain, like the Canonical maintain for snaps. And yeah, we have a long way to go.